At first, I thought it was a joke. I didn't take it serious. I heard some rumbling, but I didn't take it serious, so I had to do some research. So just like I do for everything else, I did the research, and now I'm back reporting to y'all live. Listen, y'all got to come in here. Y'all got to get some people in here. We got to have this conversation right now. What happens when you get a bunch of black people together who are armed and they are united and they promote one agenda? Nobody gets hurt, and they send a clear message that they are not playing any games. What you get is the NFAC, Not Fucking Around Coalition. We need to talk about it. We got to talk about this. So, as you all know, that the Black Lives Matter movement has taken many turns. It's taken many turns over the past couple years, sparking up around the Trayvon Martin controversy in which how he died. Of course, that's when the black community wanted to say, hey, look, it is important that we understand that black men should not be singled out, that they matter, that it's important for us to make sure that we come to their aid and make sure that they understand that we're here for them. So we want to send this message out. And as the Black Lives Matter continue to move and continue to grow, a lot of statements have been made in regards to whether this movement is a movement full of terrorists, or whether this movement should even be taken serious. So as the Black Lives Matter movement continue to develop, we've crossed a lot of thresholds. One of those thresholds was, again, from Trayvon Martin, and then we jumped forward to a lot of other black men and women who have died. And of course, after the fact, the Black Lives Matter movement was very proactive in regards to what they wanted to promote. So a lot of people see Black Lives Matter movement as a necessary response to things. Me personally, I believe that if the Black Lives Matter movement is going to be successful, then instead of having a response, we have to be proactive. So moving forward, you go to the George Floyd situation. And with the George Floyd situation, it basically pulled the blanket from up under people, and it made them sit up and take notice to this is something that's happening to black Americans on a repetitive basis. Some people say, well, statistically, Caucasians are more affected by police brutality. And I guess that's all, depending on where you live at. However, it's the manner in which black people are dying, in which why people feel like it is necessary for them to speak out and say Black Lives Matter. It's interesting that when Black Lives Matter came about, that's when the offset of All Lives Matter happened. So it's almost like, well, since you guys are going to say Black Lives Matter, we're also going to say All Lives Matter. But if all lives matter, then of course Black Lives Matter. But I noticed that there was something that happened over the last couple of months that was very significant. And in that significance, I was just like, okay, first of all, you telling me that there are armed black people that are marching on in Georgia. In Georgia, on the biggest Confederate location, which is Stone Mountain, and nobody got hurt. Matter of fact, let me read you this quote that I got from a guy that was there. It says, black people showed up to march on the largest monument in the world, which was Confederate monument, which was Stone Mountain in Georgia, fully armed. And guess what he didn't see? Now, I'm going to say these things, and I want you guys to tell me what y'all think about this. It said he seen no police brutalizing anybody. He said he seen no name calling. There was no racial slurs being thrown at this particular point. No one was getting pushed. Nobody was getting spit on. Nothing was getting thrown at them. He said he's seen no tear gas. He said he's seen no rubber bullets. And nobody was checking for permits of these armed black citizens. Let's talk about it. Come on now. Let's talk about it. So let me get this straight. How many protests have we seen where when you don't have weapons, there's tear gas, there's rubber bullets, there's people getting pushed around, there's racial slurs getting thrown at people. There's a lot of things going on. And now all of a sudden, when you get a bunch of black people who are armed and ready and united and sending a message that certain things will not be tolerated and we will defend ourselves, it's a different outcome. So I wanted to ask you guys, what message do you think this sends to America in regards to black people being armed and unified and promoting this message? This group, the NFAC, Not Fucking Around Coalition. If you've never heard of them, I suggest that you guys look it up. I actually posted some things on my page. You guys need to check that out because I was very interested in finding out, well, first of all, you know, how long have you guys been together? What's your agenda? Now, according to people that's been kind of sharing their posts or whatever case may be, they're saying that they're the new wave of the Black Panther Party. Now, we know that the Black Panther Party was infiltrated from within. We know that Huey P. Newton was one of the founders that was killed. And it seems like for Black Lives Matter, you know, and just a turn of what the black race have went through, it's like we had the nonviolent approach. We had the by any means necessary approach. And now we have people coming from a standpoint where we need to worry about our self-defense. We need to worry about our community defense. And we need to make sure that gun ownership is something that every black American prides themselves on. What happens next? What happens next? What happens now that you have black Americans that's armed, that can use their weapons, but they use it responsibly because they know about politics. They know about their rights. I think it's a difference when you go into an urban community and it's like, okay, well, you catch somebody with a handgun and 9 times out of 10, you know, they got it illegally. However, they're using it for protection in their community. What happens when you step outside the urban community and now you have black Americans who are armed and know their rights, and now they have open carry permits, and now they're carrying around these high-powered rifles, these handguns? What happens now? Do they get Trayvon Martin? Do they get George Floyd? Do they get Sandra Bland? That's a good-ass question. What happens when you teach African Americans that they have the same rights and they're justified to use those rights if they are in danger? That brings me to another point. We just had a young man who was with his girlfriend, who was an African American, was with his girlfriend, and he was being called racial slurs. And in the midst of, I guess, the incident, he shot a warning shot. Now, me personally, being in the military for over 20 years, I know that a warning shot should be up in the air or should be at the ground. It should not cause damage to the assailant or harasser. However, he fired this shot and the person died. And now he's facing charges and it's like this big uproar, whatever case may be. But my thing about this is, what happens when you have people that are armed? Do you take them more? Do you take them serious? Because a lot of times when we see protesters or whatever case to be, we see a lot of, you know, country guys or white guys, you know, that live out in the sticks or whatever, and they have these rifles and they say, hey, we bearing arms. This is our God-given right. This America. And you don't normally see a lot of black people consolidated with weapons that can publicly say, hey, this is my weapon, this is my firearm, and this is my permit. And I think that changes the tide for a lot of things when you start talking about Black Lives Matter. Because here's the thing, if you have the means to defend yourself, who's messing with you? Who's messing with you? And I'll restate this for you guys that's just coming in. Please share it. Let's have this tough conversation. There was a march on the Confederacy, which was the monument in Stone Mountain in Georgia. And in Georgia, there were over 100 black people who got together, okay, unified in all black, and they had high-powered rifles, they had handguns, shotguns, they had all of these things, and they marched to this location where there were police, where there were other people who supported the Confederacy, who think that, hey, this is something that we want, etc. But this is what's so important for y'all to understand. Why? First of all, there wasn't no police brutality or whatever, because we know that all officers are not bad. But in this instant, you never really hear. It's far between when you hear someone say, okay, well, nobody got pushed around, nobody got thrown to the ground, nobody got arrested. So when you add, most of the times when you add people have weapons, it's never Black America. It's more or less police doing policing. So now you have these black people who march. And this person that was there on site says, guess what I didn't see? I didn't see no name calling. I didn't see no tear gas being used, no rubber bullets. No one was checking for permits. Nobody was walking up to these people saying, hey, let me check your permit. You got a permit for that gun? No racial slurs. You getting ready to tear down one of the fucking biggest monuments the Confederacy has. What? And no one called nobody one name? What message do that send to America? I need Candace Owens. I need Brandon Tatum. I need y'all, them conservatives, to come on over here. Let's have a conversation. What message does that send to America when you have united black people that are armed and that are now standing and saying, this is what we're going to tolerate and this is what we're not fucking around with? It has to send a message. It has to send a message. However, here's the thing. My question to you guys is, do we need to be armed? Do we need to be armed? Do black people need to be armed in America? Some people would say, hell yeah. Hell yeah. But here's the thing. Will black people be responsible with these weapons? See, what the key to what happened in Georgia with the NFAC, the Not Fucking Around Coalition, was they didn't have to use their weapons. They were united. Wasn't no one getting loud with the police. They were all in sync. They were all united. They all promoted the same agenda, which was, we want this monument to come down. This monument pushes a meaning that we no longer want to focus on, which is racism, which is the separation of black men, black women, and the rest of America. The black community does not want to see this on a daily basis. This is something that should not be praised. I was talking to a young lady earlier, and I was kind of trying to explain, the reason why black America could feel a certain type of way about a lot of these generals and all from the Civil War movement and all of those things. And I said, black people are reminded on a daily basis about how America used to be. Every time you see the currency of when you take out $1 or $20 bill, those men, those presidents, they did some great things for America. They did. However, okay, those men were slave owners. Those men had plantations, and on those plantations where slaves were brought, beaten, raped, molested, abused mentally and physically, those men represent those times. So now, how in America now can you say the United States of America if we broadcast these are the greatest men that America has ever seen? It's kind of odd. It's kind of odd to put their faces on Mount Rushmore and you say, well, let's talk about the history of George Washington. Let's talk about Abraham Lincoln and Thomas Jefferson. And when you look at this stuff and you say, you know what? These men were great men. And then when you start talking, you can't talk about these men and don't talk about slavery. It's asinine. It's ridiculous. If you don't mention slavery when you speak about these men, then one, you're biased as hell. And you're living in a bubble. And it's so clear to me that some people are living in a bubble. Some people have no understanding about the slavery piece. They have the understanding about these men have signed policies, have enacted great links of documentation, constitutions, et cetera, that has unified America, has put America on the map and say, you know what, America is to be respected. Great. A lot of people would say now black people have more opportunity than ever before. I would agree with you wholeheartedly. I need y'all to share this because we're going to have this conversation, okay? Black people have an opportunity in America right now that a lot of people, or let's just say their forefathers, did not. That is an actual factual statement. That's a factual statement. And I think that if America wants to be unified, we need to do things to unify America. And this just doesn't happen with the everyday citizen. This needs to happen in Congress. This needs to happen in the White House. This needs to happen in the Senate. What are we doing to unify America? Does our American flag represent all? Or did you see the American flag when you was coming over on that slave ship? It's something to think about. Who were the presidents when you were coming over on the slave ship? When you were hoping to be free, when you were working on a plantation, when you were having kids and getting your kids separated, when you were getting raped, when you were getting starved, when you were getting beat. Who were the presidents that were in charge at that particular time? You can't expect people to praise something that stood for the downfall or the degradation of their generation. It's odd. It's crazy. Every time I give you $20, you're giving me a slave owner, a slave master. Well, why don't we come up with new money? Why don't we come up with a new flag? This is the United States of America, where if you're Spanish, you're Arabic, you're Oriental, you're black, you're white, we are all united. So why do we have things that promote separation in America that we still use and we pride ourselves on using? So now when you get to today, and you talk about Black Lives Matter that has taken these tolls and made these adjustments, it's like people saying Black Lives Matter is a terrorist organization. Well, here's the thing. Every single thing we do, ladies and gentlemen, has a bad and a downside to it. We could talk about the military, downside. We could talk about politics. We could talk about corrupt judges. Everything we do in America, whether it's an organization or otherwise, has a downside to it. Black Lives Matter has its flaws. We have people looting cars, burning buildings. We have people starting trouble with policemen that have nothing to do with the situation or whatever case may be. So we have people acting in the name of Black Lives Matter for personal agendas. I'm going to say that one more time. We have people acting in the name of Black Lives Matter, but promoting personal agendas. That means if I see you as a black man, but you're a white person, I have the right to call you out your name. I have the right to disrespect you in the name of Black Lives Matter, in the name of George Floyd. I think that comes from a lack of education. It comes from a lack of responsibility. It comes from a lack of respect for self and community. When you have these celebrities, when you have these politicians, you have these entertainers, you have people not responsible with the conversation that they're having. So therefore, instead of saying, let's have a conversation, I want to do things to entice you. I want to do things to fire you up. Take, for instance, you have all of these rappers, right? You have one, DaBaby. He actually did a video called a Rockstar. And inside the video, it was like the first verse. It was pretty good. It kind of tied in everything. He took the stance of pretty much enacting the George Floyd situation. I thought it was creative. I thought it was pretty cool, the first verse. But the rest of it was bullshit. The rest of it was bullshit. And it was so many people in the comments that I was tagged in. It was like, they love it. Oh my God. Da, 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 da. And I was just like, these motherfuckers is confused. Because all it did was incite jumping on police cars, damaging fucking personal property, saying fuck the police, and they played this on the goddamn black entertainment television. What are we teaching our youth? What are we teaching our youth? All policemen are bad. What we need to do is burn a bunch of shit down. But we don't need to have a conversation. We don't need to change legislation. We don't need to turn the rap music off and actually have a conversation. I'm expected. This is what's crazy about America. I'm expected to listen to a bunch of rappers who are not role models, who clearly say, I am not a role model. But our youth listens to these children and they want to enact everything that they do. Our youth are looking at these people in regards to how the black community should be, remain. There is no betterment. Now you got people like T.I., who's trying to do things for the black community or saying that he's doing things for the black community. You got people like P. Diddy, Killer Mike. You got people that are very active in speaking out for the black community. And I have an issue with that. I have an issue with that because I feel like, first of all, I believe that the black community should speak for themselves. I believe that your postal workers, your teachers, your single parents, your everyday personnel should be speaking out on forums and letting people know this is what we need in the black community. It's hard to tell Puff Daddy or listen to Puff Daddy talk about police brutality when I'm just like, well, here's the thing. What makes police brutality so powerful is the fact that you're brutalizing people that are not in a position to defend themselves. If I have a lawyer on call, do you understand what I'm saying, people? If I have a lawyer on call that can fucking, can goddamn sell water to an Eskimo, that's going to beat the charge. Ain't that what Hov said? That's going to beat the charge. How much police brutality do you think that you'll be seeing in the black community? Isn't that how the majority of people get locked up? They don't have defense. Your public defender is not saying, we're going to send you home. No, they're saying, we just going to give you 2 years and you'll be out in about 9 months. So automatically, because you had a minor run-in with the law, now you have a misdemeanor, a felony, etc., 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 but you have time on your record. We all know how this shit works once you get out of jail. Huh? Now you're a fucking janitor. Now you're a trash man. And you're not making the money that you need to support yourself or your family. So what do you actually resort to? And while you're in jail, upset and mad at the system because it failed you, because your family members didn't have the money to bail you out or to get you an actual lawyer, guess what's happening now? I need y'all to talk to me, America. Come on, let's have a tough conversation. Share this. Share this. Guess what's happening now? Those misdemeanors go in there with those hardened criminals, and guess what they become? Better criminals. I know when I get out, I'm not going to have access to a good job. I know that you're going to look at me fucking sideways. I know that everywhere I go, I need to register for this, so I need to tell a PO. I'm going to be a prisoner even though I've paid my debt to society. I need y'all to talk to me right now. I need y'all to talk to me right now. So my question is, to prevent from going to jail, prevent from being a victim of police brutality, to show that we're serious, to show that Black America is serious and can have the conversation. And in order for people to listen, do we need the NFAC? Not fucking around coalition. That's what I'm asking y'all right now. Do we need to be armed in order to be listened to? Or does Candace Owens and Brandon Tatum speak for us? Now, somebody would say, well, why the hell would he say Candace Owens? And why the hell would he say Brandon Tatum? My thing about it is a lot of things, when people argue factually, statistically, that police, when you talk about police brutality, it affects more white people than it affects black people. So the counter to that would be this. Well, instead of us worrying about police brutality, black people need to worry about policing themselves. Black people need to worry about black on black crime. I say that if Black Lives Matter, then Black lives should matter to black people. So we need to make sure and ensure that if we're going to talk about police brutality, then we need to make sure that we talk about ensuring that I'm not killing my fellow brother. I'm not killing my fellow sister. I'm not doing something to hurt them. A lot of people don't want to have the tough conversation because it's difficult. What we want to do is we want to focus on one narrative, the police brutality narrative. But when we use the statistics, it don't add up. So my thing is this. What should be more important? Self-defense, the defense of our communities, defense of our homes, making sure that we can go out and have a good time. And when we get stopped by a policeman, this is not going to be the last time we see the light of day or the last time we take our breath. Do we need to be armed? Is gun ownership the way to move in regards to Black America? Do we need to teach our children? What age do we need to teach our children? And what if you are a criminal and you serve time and you get out or whatever? Should people that go to jail for nonviolent crimes have the right to get out and get a weapon to defend themselves against everything? Should they be able to have a weapon? There's a lot of unanswered questions, and it's so funny that I understand that we get wrapped up in life. You know, you get wrapped up in living. You want to travel. You want to have fun. You want to party or whatever. But it's so interesting to me that you don't have a lot of people having this conversation. Just think that if you had a bunch of black men, a bunch of black women, a bunch of people having this conversation and says, okay, well, how do we snuff out police brutality? Not just against black people, but against all people. Some people say police reform. Some people say, hey, let's dismantle the police department. We don't need them. That's a long conversation. That's a long conversation. Because here's the thing. You have some people that are not, they don't have the mental capacity to defend themselves in high school, in middle school, at work, which is the reason why people become victims. Now, imagine if there was no law enforcement and you had to defend yourself. What happens when you're outmanned and you're outgunned? What happens when you don't have enough bullets to defend your household? It's not a lot of people with high-powered assault rifles. You might have one handgun. And here's the thing. The kicker is this. Some people don't even know how to use the damn handgun. Oh, okay, I get it, Mario. Now you talking real shit. Not only do they not know how to use it, they probably ain't cleaning it. They're probably not going to any range to make sure they can fire the motherfucker. You can actually hit targets. You're probably going to be irresponsible. You're probably going to put it in some unlocked thing and your cousin or your mama or your grandbaby going to come in there and play with it. And now we got, gun violence. Something to think about. So we're talking about police reform. Do I think that police need to undergo some type of psychological examination, either on a quarterly basis or more? Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I believe everybody needs somebody to talk to, and we need to do a thorough evaluation or whatever case may be. But let me ask you something really serious. Is it different from policing an urban community versus a suburb? Is it different? Can I go in there with my fluffy cotton capacity? Can I go in there with my Mayberry capacity and police a project? Will they listen to me? Come on now, let's be real. If I go in there like, hey, it's flowers and roses and daisies and hey, how you doing this morning? Blah, 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 blah. Will you respect me? Or if I go in there and I'm a little bit more aggressive and I'm saying, hey, get your ass over here now and stop playing games. Like, do I need to be a little bit more assertive in certain areas? So the question is, I believe that we need to have policemen protect and serve areas that understand the concept of that area, that understand the mentality of that area. I believe that protecting and serving should be the main priority. Not brutalizing, not wreaking havoc, not seeking and destroying. I believe that policemen get a bad rap because some lack understanding. Some they're power hungry and they realize, hey, the average person can't mess with me. It's going to take another jurisdiction or something, a higher agency to mess with me. So that you definitely get a God complex with that. I believe that when those things are identified, those things should be taken care of. That means you as the average citizen. Let me break down something for you guys, right? You see someone get stopped by the police, okay? You immediately decide to say, hey, I'm going to take 30 minutes out my day. I'm going to take out my phone. I'm going to record this interaction with the police. The police pulls this person over. Let's just say we're not talking about race. We're talking about human beings for a second. Okay. The policeman pulls this person over and the policeman asks the person for their license and registration. Stay with me, folks. The person that get pulled over says, why the fuck do you need to see my license and registration? What the fuck is you stopping me for? Immediately goes into this tantrum. The policeman asks for identification, license, and registration. And you immediately go into some off-the-wall tantrum. Okay. You've just escalated the situation. You've just escalated the situation. Okay, I see that you don't want to listen. Let me call for backup. Backup gets there. Okay? The fact that that person, that policeman or policewoman had to call for backup, the situation has now changed. It is now escalated. Okay? Remember, this is being recorded. Policeman asks you to turn off the vehicle, put your hands on the steering wheel, okay? All right. Then take the keys, one hand, take the keys and reach over and drop the keys out the window. Okay? Now, while you're doing this, the police have their weapons drawn. Okay? Because the whole time you're failing to comply, the whole time you're cursing, you're loud, you're ruckus, you're rowdy. So now you get out the car. Police says, drop to your knees, put your hands behind your head. You still standing there talking, waving your arms or whatever case be. Shit, you even reaching behind your back. Police said, hey, you need to stop or I'll shoot. Police now arrest you. They come to you, they throw you on the ground or whatever, they put their knee in your back or whatever case may be. And now they attempt to arrest you. Okay. Now, these cameras that's capturing you being arrested has to notice the attitude before you got to that point. What we need to stop doing as Americans is saying, I only see the end result. I only care about the end result. I only care about the race of the person. I only care about if we can benefit from it. So to me, it doesn't matter if it's white, if it's Hispanic, if it's Oriental, if it's Arabic, if it's black. It matters about human beings and what should be happening with those human beings. So here's the thing. Don't escalate a situation you don't have to. Because once you escalate a situation and you're outnumbered and you're outgunned, then for the most part, you by yourself. Let me explain to you guys that 9 times out of 10, most people will not jump into an altercation to help defend you against a police officer. They won't. So you have to be strategic and say, what is the best way I can get out this situation without escalating the situation and putting my life in danger? I think that's been a lot of the cases. And right now, America is so temperamental that the second we see a white officer and a black person, we automatically call the racist card. And vice versa. Let's look at this, okay? Let's look at this before I get out of here. If being armed in America with high-powered rifles, handguns, and marching with fatigues on towards monuments sends a message that Black America wants everything that reminded them or being praised from the Confederacy removed. Is that what needs to happen? Is that what we need to do? This is what I'm going to leave you with. What happens when somebody says, NFAC, are y'all about that life? Oh, shit. That means you got those high-powered rifles. You got those weapons that basically dictate you're going to listen or else. What happens with the or else? What happens with the horror? See, Huey Newton from the Black Panthers was very good and articulate about saying certain things. And one of those things is, listen, we will use violence to defend ours. Let me ask you a question. What happens when, well, let me use this point. When George Floyd died and we had those protests, and you noticed that there were piles of bricks. You noticed that there was wood. You noticed that people were setting fire, talking about, yeah, Black Lives Matter. There were people masked up that were white, spraying BLM on buildings. What I'm saying is that movement, that protest was infiltrated. Do you understand what I'm saying? So what happens when you have the new Black Panthers, the new wave, right? What happens when you have a bunch of Black people who are armed? And even though they're unified and they promote unity, what happens when they stand against people that are willing to test the water? That means somebody just fired. I fire a shot in the air. You don't know it's in the air. You just know somebody's shooting. What happens then when somebody on the black side says, oh, hell no, and I pop off a shot? As soon as somebody dies, okay, as soon as the NFAC kills somebody, they are now considered a terrorist group. They're now considered criminals. So the question is, are they about that life? How many more peaceful protests are we going to get before someone says, you know what, I'm going to test this theory. I'm going to throw a brick. Listen to me. Huh? I'm going to throw a brick at one of them. I'm going to throw a bottle at one of them. Now, I think we can probably get away with the racial slurs, but I'm going to do something to cause them physical harm. Imagine, because it was women. Okay, it was women marching as well. So imagine someone hitting the woman in front of you as a man with a brick in her head. She goes down, she's holding her head, and you're standing there with a high-powered rifle. And you look over there at the assailant, and they laughing and giggling. What do? There's a lot of people that says, I want to join that movement. I want to be in the midst of that or whatever case be. I'm telling you guys that we need to be smart about the shit that we do. Because here is the thing. It is great to show unity in numbers, but you have to be smart about what you unify with. Because you could be making yourself a target and not even know it. Not even know it. I'm not saying that black people being united, black people being armed, black people promoting self-defense, and also community defense. That black people show that we can push back as well. That not only do we have weapons, we know how to use weapons. We're militant. We're a militia of common sense. I'm all for it. I'm for it. I got you. However, you are putting yourself in a dangerous situation. Because there are people out there that are strategic and saying, okay, somebody inside that militia is trigger happy. Somebody ready to lay somebody down. And in the name of that somebody lay somebody down, somebody's going to be tested. How do we test them? That is my message to that militia. Someone's going to test you. What is going to be your response? And are you ready to be a martyr? Are you ready to die for what you believe in? If this is your true religion, and you saying that enough is enough, and black people are tired of being meeting police brutality and facing all of the stuff that they face under this flag in this country, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to become a martyr? Die for what you believe in. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mario J. Tough love. Please share. Leave your feedback. I'll answer the comments. Hopefully you guys, something I said sparked a note, and you share and you bring people in. We need to have the tough conversation. I want to see Candace Owens. I want to see Brandon Tatum, and anybody that's willing to come on this platform and have a conversation. Let's do it. Adult up, stay safe, and stay motivated. I'm going to holler at y'all. Peace.